For decades, Germany's had a stranglehold on the luxury car market. Sure, you can get something from a Japanese brand or an American automaker, you can even go Scandinavian, but the feeling has always been there that you're giving up a little bit in the process.
But Cadillac and Hyundai want to change all that. In the past year, the Genesis and the CTS have been completely redesigned, and they promise to be able to take the Germans head on.
But can something from Cadillac, or even to a greater extent Hyundai, really stack up to the best in premium cars from Europe? Well, we're here today to find out.
The Genesis is available with a V8 or a V6 engine. Our test vehicle here has the 5-liter V8 that makes 420 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque. Now, unlike the Cadillac, this car can be used with regular gas, but there is a minor trade-off in power output. The only transmission available is an 8-speed automatic sending power to the rear wheels. The Genesis is a big, heavy car with a big V8, so fuel economy ratings of just 15 miles per gallon in the city and 23 miles per gallon on the highway should be expected. Hyundai continues to build a luxury car bargain, as this car starts at only $38,950 after destination charges. Even when fully loaded, our Genesis V8 with the Ultimate package came in at just $55,700. That is far cheaper than the Cadillac.
Just like the Genesis, the CTS comes with 2-cylinder configurations, although in this case, you have the choice between a turbocharged 4-cylinder or a 3.6-liter V6. Mind you, you can get that as both a naturally aspirated engine or a twin-turbo model. Now that twin-turbo is only offered on the CTS-V Vsport, and it makes 420 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. Shifting happens exclusively through an 8-speed automatic that sends power only to the rear wheels with the Vsport model. Officially, the car is supposed to return 16 miles per gallon in city situations or 24 miles per gallon during freeway cruising. Pricing kicks off at just about 46 grand, but that's for the turbocharged 4-cylinder model. The premium V-Sport model that we're driving here today costs a whopping $72,640, which, to be fair, is class competitive with BMW.
The previous generation Genesis was always a little too conservative for my liking, and with the second generation, Hyundai has kept it conservative, but it is far more distinct. The new grille really sets the car off, and with the 2-tier LED lighting gives the Genesis far more road presence than it's ever had. With the V8 model, the back end receives quad exhaust tips that look like they've been influenced a little bit by Maserati.
I'm all for the way that the Genesis looks. Don't get me wrong. In fact, I think it's probably one of the most attractive cars that Hyundai has ever built, if not the best overall. Still, when it's next to the CTS, it kind of loses some points in my book. For 2014, Cadillac's mid-size sedan grows to be the same size as the cars that it's competing against. Despite that, it keeps a very sporty, low look, helped by the fact that it has strong, sharp angles all the way around, those headlights that stand out and grab you. And honestly, it doesn't even bother me that I've got 18-inch wheels compared to what Mike has on his car. Now, there's no question that both of these cars look considerably more aggressive in their current generations than they did before. But if I had to pick one that really stands out as looking meaner of the pack, it'd definitely be the CTS.
Hyundai really paid attention to the details in here. The matte finish texture wood that runs across the dashboard and the doors looks fantastic, and the leather is anything but cheap. Best of all, the new Genesis looks like a proper luxury car and not a vehicle pretending to be upscale. There isn't a hard plastic surface to be found anywhere in the dash or doors or seats. The car even has the mandatory analog clock. Legroom is said to only be 35 inches back here, which is tiny. That's half a foot shorter than a Toyota Corolla. But as you can see, I have all the room in the world that I need, and I'm over 6 feet tall. All the usual luxury items are present and accounted for back here, like the side privacy shades, the rear privacy shade, and the heated seats. As well, for passengers back here, there is a trunk pass-through.
When I think of the Rethink Crest, I think luxury, and thankfully Cadillac's past of column shifters and cabins that felt more like couches on wheels is all over. The interior of the CTS is snug, it hugs you, it's soft, and it's functional all at the same time. And while yes, Q is perhaps a sticking point that could be improved, it's not the most straightforward infotainment system on the market today, the vast majority of the inside of the CTS is rich luxury. I mean, the open pore wood, Alcantara accents, and metal that runs through the cabin and also matchingly is on the paddle shifters and the door handles give the car a very luxurious feel. Now, believe it or not, Mike actually doesn't have quite as much rear seat legroom on paper as I do here in the CTS, although, to tell you the truth, it doesn't really feel that way. And part of the reason for that is that the CTS doesn't really make a very efficient use of space. For example, I stand about 5'9", and I've got headroom back here, but anybody a little bit taller than me is going to find that they're probably struggling to feel comfortable in the rear seats.
On paper, these two cars are very similar. They're only an inch apart in length, they wear the exact same width staggered tires, they both make 420 horsepower, and they both have 8-speed automatics. However, on the road, they couldn't be any more different. Whereas the CTS is the rambunctious sports car of the two, this is the comfort king. Those who are sad at the loss of the Lincoln Town Car, here is your replacement. This has all the comfort of that discontinued Lincoln, plus the sophistication of the Lexus LS. And unlike the Lincoln, this car can actually handle a corner. It's not exactly sporty like, say, the CTS, the Audi S6, or the BMW 5 Series, but it doesn't embarrass itself when taking a corner. A lot of this has to do with the V8 model's continuous damping control suspension. This helps keep the Genesis' obese 4,541 pounds in check, and that is no small feat. The much made fun of term road-hugging weight really comes to mind with this car. It feels like it's made out of the same concrete and asphalt that I'm driving on. I wouldn't quite go as far to say that this suspension is perfect, but it's smooth, comfortable, in control, and basically everything a comfortable cruising luxury car should be.
Mike's absolutely right. These cars have a lot in common on paper. But if you want something that's really going to get your blood pumping, this is your ride. I mean, forget about the Genesis for just a second. The CTS Vsport is so good. Honestly, I'm convinced that it embarrasses the BMW 5 Series. For starters, let's talk about the steering. I don't know what Cadillac did to get it to feel so good, but honestly, it really is. In each of the drive modes, it feels perfectly weighted, and as you turn the wheel, you get a really nice, progressively increasing steering feel. You really get a good sense of exactly where the wheels are, and in a sporty, luxury sedan like this, that's exactly what you want. You also get the benefit of General Motors' magnetic ride shocks. So like I said, when you're going through those different drive modes, it gets appreciably stiffer, so you really do get better handling. Yeah, it's true that the Genesis can come with adaptive dampers, but it's really not the same thing. Same goes for the brakes. Yeah, they're good in the Genesis, but they're just so much better in the CTS Vsport. You get a nice progressive feeling, and you feel as if you can stop on a dime when you really need to. Allow me to reiterate, 420 horsepower, 430 foot-pounds of torque. And when you step on the gas, I mean, oh, it just goes. It's incredible. And then brakes, nice progressive slowdown. It really, really is a win for Cadillac. Now, like I said earlier, the only transmission you can get is an 8-speed automatic powering the rear wheels with the V-Sport model. And honestly, the shifts are, well, a little bit slow. You can pop it into manual mode, but the truth is, you probably won't want to because they're just not that responsive. If I have one major complaint about how this car drives, it's that the transmission is a little bit shift happy. So if you give yourself a little bit of time stepping on the accelerator, you'll notice that it tends to shift several times rather than just finding the right gear to be in, and that can get a little bit annoying sometimes. One way or another, Cadillac's really stolen my heart with this car. I mean, honestly, it's just a pleasure to drive. It's just a shame that it's so expensive.
Both of these cars are indeed legitimate contenders in the luxury car segment.
That's exactly right, but they take very different approaches at doing that. The CTS is focused on offering a sporty drive, while the Genesis is completely dedicated to being a comfortable luxury cruiser.
We agree the CTS is the better vehicle, but it's not $17,000 better. Hyundai continues to undercut its competition, and with a fantastic product like the new Genesis, it's hard not to give it the win in this comparison.